Everyone get a second to find their seats. Perfect. Assalamu alaikum and welcome. My name is Amir Ghaffar, and thank you for joining this candidate forum hosted by the Islamic Center of Frisco. I want to thank the board of directors of the Islamic Center of Frisco for hosting us. We do this for every candidate election, and it's been really well attended. I'm glad you guys are all able to make it. We actually had to shut down registration because we had too many people. And I want to thank our candidates for taking the time to coming out. You guys have a very, very busy schedule ahead of you, and we appreciate you guys taking the time. As we get started, I want to start with a quick prayer. So we'll all bow our heads and we can get started. Praise be to God, the most gracious, the most merciful. O Lord, we ask for your blessing and guidance this evening. We ask you to bless the attendees, both virtual and in person, the candidates and their families, and all the residents of the city of Frisco and surrounding areas with peace and prosperity. We ask for your guidance and to light the path forward that will unite and strengthen our collective Frisco community across all residents, regardless of politics, race, or religion. In God's name, Amen. And with that, I'd like to invite our Girl Scouts, Troop 5858, that will be leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance in the State of Texas Pledge of Allegiance. Girl Scouts?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Texas Pledge. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to the Texas, one state under God, one indivisible.
Let's give them a round of applause. They were very nervous. Girls, you did a fantastic job. Thank you so much. Like I said, my name is Amir Ghaffar, and I'm one of your co-moderators today. I'm going to hand it off to my co-moderator to introduce herself and give the rules of today's candidate forum.
All right. Can you all hear me okay? All right. Well, I'll take advantage of it until it stops working, because that's what normally happens. Thank you so much for being here today. My name is Sadaf Haq, and I have, again, the honor of this year co-moderating the forum. Typically, we have it held. This year was a little challenging with Ramadan coming up next week, but we really wanted to fit it in, so thank you so much for coming here. Just a few house rules. Basically, we're going to have, for the candidates, you'll have one minute each to introduce yourselves, one minute each for the questions, and then a minute closing. And then we'll also have a Q&A, and those are questions that the audience has submitted prior to this event. And so they have been vetted, and we'll be asking those questions. And of course, I know the reminder is not needed, but of course, please be cordial, and we have everything already set up. So if you have something that's really pressing, and if we have time, we can ask that, but just remember, we are all residents of Frisco, and we are here to respect one another. So thank you, and let's get started. 1 minute opener, yes. And so we are going to start with City Council, and so Mark, go ahead.
Well, thank you very much. Good evening, and I appreciate the opportunity to be here during this forum. I'm Mark Pilon, running for place 1 in Frisco City Council. I've been in local government for over 40 years, about 18 years in executive leadership. We're running for basically because you deserve better. You deserve better representation on City Council than you currently have. If you look at the current makeup of council, all the votes are usually about 5-1. There's no diversity of thought. That's not alignment, folks. That's allegiance is what that is. What I will bring to the council is some independent thought. While I may not agree with everything the mayor says, I won't oppose on everything either, but I will look at everything objectively. My opponent will basically go along with and rubber stamp everything this mayor does, and he has for the last 12 years. Look at the voting record. That's what's going to happen. We're about public safety. We want to make sure that that is number one. Right now, it's only on the top 10 list of the council. They'll give you a story about, well, yeah, we kind of know it's there, but we don't put it on the list. I don't buy that a bit. As a council member, I will never go along with a list that doesn't put public safety as number one. I just will not do that. I'm not buying the narrative that we just kind of know it's there. We look at the older parts of Frisco. We want to make sure that the east part of Frisco is the same as the west. And I appreciate the time is up, and I'll yield. Thank you.
Thanks, waiting on you, Sadaf. Got to get
sorry.
the green light to go here, and then the red light to stop. So who's in charge of the time? Because I will
Right
go
there.
10 minutes right now. Yeah, the most dangerous intersection in Frisco is standing between John Keating and a microphone. So, hey, thank you all for being here tonight, taking time away from your busy schedules. I'm John Keating. I'm serving on your Frisco City Council. I have been for a number of years. This will be my third and final term as a council member, believe it or not. This time it's really, truly going to happen. So, 8 years ago, I ran for state rep, and I had already served for a period of time on council, came back on, and so I'm very proud of our city. Number one safest city in America. Some of the great things we've done has been really part of our community outreach and community engagement and getting everyone involved and being your voice and your advocate on city council. And that's one of our top priorities is obviously public safety. That's one of the things I've run on way back since 2010. And for the past 2 years, we have been the number one safest city in America. We have an ISO 1 rating that translates into lower property tax, lower homeowners tax, or for you, for actually lower homeowners and business insurance costs for you. Also a very proud veteran, 13 years of service, was serving you before I even met you. So thank you again for being here, and thank you for working with us to keep Frisco the number one city in America.
Okay, next.
I assume we're just going in order?
Yes, we are.
Well, thank you. My name is John Redmond. I am not the intersection of John and the microphone, but I'm happy to be here. I did this 7 years ago. We ran in the largest special election with 9 candidates. I got my ass kicked. But I learned a lot. And so, I've got my crib notes here. So for me, as a lifelong and a proud conservative, I believe in limited government. I believe in individual liberty and personal responsibility. And so why is that important to you? Because as I know, collectively as we know, municipal government and governance is more important than whatever is happening nationally, whatever single issues divide us, change us, whatever. I am running to be your voice here in Frisco. I hope to earn your vote. And with that, I will bring fiscal responsibility, accountability. He's waving at me. And I too understand that our first responders are super important, and so I will fully fund or vote to fully fund whatever the police and fire ask for. But other than that, as a small business owner, I would also hope to create a small business environment that's, all right, bye.
Good evening, friends. I look out in the audience, and I almost feel like I don't have to do an introduction because I have so many friends and supporters in this audience. So I will start by saying you already know me. I've been in Frisco for 20 years. My husband, Pastor Dono Pelham, is here in the front. He's probably hugged everybody in the room. We've been married for 34 years. We've been blessed to raise a daughter. She's 21 years old. She's a junior in college in New York. I've been in corporate America for about 34 years, and I'm also a small business owner. But that's not why I'm here. My why is, first of all, I love this city, and love is a really strong word for me. I love Frisco. Second, I love the people of Frisco. Again, a very strong word, but there are people in this room that I consider to be friends and family, and I love that. And third, I love where we're going as a city. We're a textbook city. I talk to so many people who tell me that this should be a Harvard Business Review on how to organize and run a growing city. Who wouldn't want to be a part of that? So I love Frisco. I love its people. I love what it stands for, and I want to be a part of the continuation of the growth of this city. Thank you.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure it worked. Good evening. My name is Sherry Salas. I'm running for Frisco ISD Board of Trustees, Place 6. First, I'd like to thank the ICF for providing an opportunity for our residents to engage with our candidates. I find that very important. A little about me. My family has lived in Frisco for 14 years. I've been happily married to Juan Salas for 25 years. We have 2 beautiful daughters. The oldest is a graduate of Frisco High School. She currently attends A&M University in Galveston. Our baby is a senior at Reedy. She is in choir, theater, and the Explorers program, which is an amazing program. She will attend Sam Houston State in the fall to study criminal justice. I'm passionate about serving my community, and I've been doing it for a long time. Started in 2013 with the Powerline Project. I've been showing up since our girls were in when our girls were in elementary. I served on PTAs as chair positions. I've had not 1, but 2 Girl Scout troops. I've served on my HOA for 10 plus years, and I'm happy to say my residents do not hate me, which is an accomplishment in itself. I want to continue to just show up and do the work, and that's why I'm here asking for your vote. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Fred Kaiser. I'm also, I just didn't have it close to my mouth. Also running for place 6 at ISD School Board. Thank you to all you folks for coming out and for hosting this awesome event. Great opportunity to meet some new people and get our message out there. I've lived in Texas for a bit now. I'm originally from up north. I was a teacher in Frisco for 14 years prior to my current position. Opened up Frisco Liberty High School where I was a teacher and a coach there. Wrote the curriculum for several of the subjects that your students are taking. I have 2 boys who are currently in FISD schools. My wife and I was teaching in Frisco for 7 years before we decided to move here. And we wanted to ensure that our children had the opportunity to attend FISD schools. So put my money where my mouth is on that one. I've got a sophomore at Lone Star High School. I have an 8th grader at Trent Middle School. Appreciate the opportunity to speak with you folks tonight in general and then specifically later on. Seeking to serve, that's what I wanted to do. So looking forward to it. Thank you for your time.
Assalamu alaikum, and thank you everybody for being here. The Girl Scouts stole my heart with that pledge. I could barely focus on the pledge. They were absolutely adorable. Thank you, ladies, so much for doing that. I thank everybody up here for running. Thank you all for being here. Stepping up to run for a position is a lot of work. It's time-consuming, and you need all hands on deck from your family and your friends. My name is Melanie Jones, and I am running for place 7 for Frisco ISD Board of Trustees. I've been in this wonderful community since 2015. I've been married to my husband for 33 years. We have our 34th wedding anniversary coming up in July. I make jokes that I have 2 only children because our daughter's almost 29 and my son is 15. Yes, it is true. My daughter did very well academically, has a master's degree, was a Division I athlete. My son is equally talented in golf and is also a special education student. I have been serving this community since we got here in 2015, serving on multiple committees, including the Foundational Special Education Parent Advisory Committee when it got started. I was on that for 2 years. I'm currently on the District Advisory Council in the Curriculum and Guaranteed Viable situation there. And so one of the things that I bring to the table is that I check a lot of boxes for everybody, and I'm here to serve our wonderful community. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Keith Maddox. I am running for Frisco ISD Place 7. I am a husband, father, and a Navy veteran. My 3 points of issue will be adequate funding, maintaining our performance level, and also safety. I'd like to say that my wife and I have lived in the Frisco area for 14 years. We've raised 2 kids, and they both graduated from Frisco ISD and have done extremely well. I have over 36 years of management and leadership experience. That includes the U.S. Department of Education, NASA, U.S. Postal Service, and as I say, at the Navy. Currently, I'm the Chief Compliance Officer with UNT Dallas. So I'm accustomed to knowing the right thing to do, reviewing policies, and also analyzing budget. With me, you're going to get the right thing. You're going to get someone who's going to tell you what's right, who's going to review and understand what's going on. I look forward to discussing the issues tonight, and thank you for coming.
thank you so much, everyone, for that intro, and we'll get right into the questions. We'll start with City Council, and we'll just kind of alternate City Council and School Board so no one feels left out. Okay, Mark, I'm going to start with you. What challenges do you see the city facing in the next 3 years, and how do you propose we overcome it? And you have 1 minute.
Well, clear, like I said earlier, I think it's groupthink. We've got to get an advocate. The people of this city need an advocate for them. You didn't have it on Universal. You did have a 4-2 vote there. You certainly didn't have it in Frisco Springs lately with the crematorium. You didn't have it with the vote on the animal shelter, as the Citizens Bond Committee recommended that go to the citizens. The council denied that. They denied your opportunity to vote. They also wanted to stop you from signing a petition to vote for a proposition the firefighters have on this ballot, because they don't want you to vote. They don't want you to participate in anything in this city. They want to decide. What I want to do is be your advocate. You deserve to vote on these important issues. Should not be up to council to make those decisions for you. In the next 3 years, this population is going to go up by 12,000. It's going to be another 36,000 people. You're looking at 270,000 people in this city. This is going to look a lot different than it does right now, and public safety is not a focus for this council. Again, they're not number one on their list. They put it aside. They say it is, and it's not. Police, fire, and emergency management need to be a focus of this city, and right now it is not. And with 270,000 people, you're going to find out that it will be, but we don't want to have to engage that when we get some of these national issues that are going to hit us locally.
John, do you need me to repeat the question? Or?
Sure, if you like, for everybody.
Okay. What challenges do you see the city facing in the next 3 years, and how do you propose we overcome it?
Growth is certainly it's a blessing and a curse. We've got a lot of people who love Frisco. We've heard Angelia's passion, some of our school board members as well. They've moved here, got engaged in one form or another, and are super excited about the city, and are looking for the next great thing that's coming out ahead of us. You know, it is a representative form of government. So we do run to be your advocate and to be your voice on council and to make those difficult decisions. Oftentimes, if you've ever come to a city council meeting or watch it stream on live, we've got an open checkbook. We are transparent. We take your input, listen to what's going on. There's a number of things that were sort of rattled off here about pet shelters and Universal and things like that. Oftentimes, on an agenda, there could be 100 things on there, and 99 things we're all aligned with, and there might be that one contentious subject item. All of these stories have backgrounds. Some of them are important and familiar to you, and other ones may be brand new. But the opportunity is that for each one of us is to be available to you. And I have done that time and again. I've given out my phone number. It's been the same phone number for over 20 years, 214-587-0827. I've shared it with a couple of you this evening. More than happy to do it again. Oh, thanks. Sorry. Thank you very much.
You good? You want me to repeat it?
I think I'm good.
Okay.
So there's no really easy way to say this. And this isn't about being contentious. This isn't about being a contrarian. I think for me and why I'm running, and my friends and some of the people I talked to before I decided to enter into this journey, they don't feel like they have a voice, right? And so I am here to represent the people of Frisco and the citizens across all different shades, sizes, tones, backgrounds, what have you. At the end of the day, it's about collaboration, it's about accountability, and that's where I think we can do better.
So I'm going to answer your question. Several things I think that we have to contend with. We have a 3% population growth that's happened to our city, and we continue to grow exponentially. And so population growth breeds traffic and congestion. And so we have, over the past 2 years, invested over $405 million in road infrastructure. We will continue to keep roads and maintenance of roads, whether it's the expansion or the improvement of roads, at the forefront of our priorities, because we know that when people come to the city, they bring cars, and we need to ensure that we have ample ways for people to get from one place to the other when it comes to population growth. Second, it's maintenance. We love the beautification of our city, but there are going to be some areas of our city that over time that are going to get run down. It's not going to look the same way that it did 10 years ago when a building was first built. So we're going to have to make sure that we continue to allocate monies for maintenance and improvement to our facilities in the city. And then third, I would say culture. We have to make sure that we don't allow partisan politics to get into local politics. We have an incredible culture here. Like I said when I opened, there are people that I love.
Angelia.
We have to be careful about ensuring that partisan politics doesn't
Thank you,
enter into our local
Time's up.
elections.
Thank you.
Excellent. Now on to the school board. So I have a two-part question for you, and Sherry, if you don't mind me calling you Sherry, let's start with you. The question is, as you guys might have seen in recent news, the Texas Attorney General, Ken Paxton, has actually recently sued FISD and 2 other districts for election engineering. Do you agree with the Attorney General's concern, and what role, if any, should FISD play in elections?
I had a feeling this was going to come up. So the people in this room that know me, I very much have an opinion on this because I tend to pay attention to everything in the news, especially if it's ISD related. That being said, my answer is not going to be fabulous. As a candidate for a trustee position, I'm just not comfortable providing an opinion because it's an ongoing investigation. And considering this election is only a few months out, I'm just not really comfortable on providing an opinion. Thank you.
Got the background part, so can you give me the
So
two
the Attorney
specific
General,
questions?
Ken Paxton, has recently sued FISD and 2 other districts for election engineering. Do you agree with the Attorney General's concern? And what role, if any, should FISD play in elections?
I am going to echo what Sherry said to an extent on that. It is an ongoing investigation, very, very preliminary. I've had the opportunity to read through all the accusations and allegations. However, as things are still preliminary until facts come out, agreeing or disagreeing with the Attorney General I'd like to have more information on my personal view on that one. I think the laws are pretty clear in terms of where public dollars are supposed to be spent, how they're supposed to be spent, in terms of what's considered political and what's not. So it's the district, just like the district should be following the laws just like everybody else. And once the investigation is more thorough and complete, then might be able to give you a little bit more in depth on that. Thank you.
We had specific instructions on the microphone before we got started. Okay, yep, all right. That's a tough question. Way to dive right in there, Mr. Moderator. I'm a rule follower because I believe that without rules and without laws, we have chaos. So with that being said, it is still a little early, and I would hope that our Attorney General would not file a frivolous lawsuit against anyone or any district or any government body or any corporation for no good reason. I too would like to wait and see what other information comes out, but I will tell you this. If the findings are that some rules have been broken, then consequences have to follow. Otherwise, we're never going to see anything better coming out of our society. We are a society of rules and laws, and I am grateful that we have people paying attention to these kinds of things. And with that being said, I'm going to wait and see what else comes up. But I definitely agree that if some rules were broken and there are consequences to those rules, then so be it.
Well, I guess I'll make this easy. No, I do not agree. I think it's fairly simple, and I think this is the epitome of the issues that we have here. If there was a concern about something that Frisco ISD or another ISD did, why not pick up the phone call and say, hey, look, there's something that's on your website or there's something that's being said or done by your district that's not aligned with our Texas laws and government. I would highly like for you to take it down, and this is why. It doesn't hurt to make a call, and I think that's where we are right now. We're so quick to not get along or to sue as opposed to seeking to be understood and reaching out and making that answer clear. So, and again, I use a football analogy, as they say, the referee can call a penalty on every play. So I don't think it's necessary. The first thing you want to do is sue the school district. So, and when you think about it, those are our tax dollars that we're using to sue ourselves. It's kind of crazy. It's like when you're, again, the homeowners association, I serve on that board, is when the homeowners decide they want to sue a homeowners association, you're suing yourself. And so as far as this school district is concerned, my only concern, my role, I think the school district should be to ensure that we're properly funded. That's the utmost, and right now we're currently not. We all know there's $32.7 billion in a rainy day fund down in Austin. And basically, we could use that money, so.
So if I got a good pivot here, so I'm going to jump on that because you got me interested now. So let's get going. So you talked about the money that's sitting in Austin right now. If you guys aren't familiar, there's about $5 billion for teacher retention and other funds that have been held with the legislation.
Yes.
I'm not going to ask you about state legislators because that's Austin. What I will ask you is, while that money is being held up, what can we do as a school board, as a community, to improve teacher retention?
Well, my background in being an internal auditor and right now as a compliance officer and having dealt with budget on a number of nonprofit agencies, I'm always looking for a way, are we doing the most efficient job? Or is there any way we can drive out costs? Are we making the right choices? I am a strong believer in each year, let's take a look at the budget. Let's take a look. Are there things that maybe they have outlived their usefulness? Are there things that maybe we can tweak? Are there things or ways that we could work in partnership with someone else to maybe reduce our costs? Is there any cost sharing? There are a number of things that we can do. So I'm willing to look at the budget and go line by line. My friends will tell you, I will study the budget to death. There's always a way, and where these are costs that we have, I fully support those. If there's something that we can't afford, or maybe we need to defer, or maybe we need to take a second look at, then I'll do that. So I'm fully open for making a full examination of the budget.
Okay, let's talk money and teacher retention. And let's talk real quick about the fact that nothing happens in a vacuum. And while it's nice to say that, hey, you can make a phone call, but what if this wasn't the first incidence of maybe some supposed electioneering going on? And maybe that's the reason why Attorney General Paxton maybe got it up to here. So let's talk about our teachers. Right now, our teachers have no voices. None. Their voices are being taken away. We had a teacher quit last year because a student went online and said he was going to blow her up with military-grade weapons. It was investigated, and the police said, well, there really weren't any military-grade weapons, so the credibility of that threat wasn't real. But the teacher never knew who the student was. She had no idea what was going on or what kind of damage this kid was really ready to do. Military-grade weapon or not, nobody took her side, and she quit. Our behavior problems in school are absolutely abysmal right now. We do not have our arms wrapped around our behavior policies. We're enforcing nothing, and our teachers have nowhere to go. They've even gone so far as to tell me when they report to Human Resources tell the person they reported on. That person comes back literally into their classroom and says, I understand you have a problem with me. Well, you know what? I have a problem with that. We have to wrap our minds around HR. We have to wrap our minds around behavior problems. And as far as the budget goes, we are 80% top-heavy on management and not enough boots on the ground. You want teacher retention? Let's switch that budget around. Let's trim the fat at the top, and let's hire the teachers that we need for boots on the ground to help them, and then maybe, just maybe, they'll stay.
Do you want me to repeat the question?
I would appreciate it very much. Yes, sir.
So there's about $5 billion that are targeted for public school teacher salary increases and overall retention on hold right now in Austin. While that's being figured out, what can we do as a school district and the community to improve teacher retention?
Two very related items on that one. I'll echo what Mr. Manick said about our public funding for schools. It has a lot of room for improvement. When it comes to teacher retention, that's one I can speak to because I was a teacher in the district for 14 years, and I've seen that firsthand and experienced that firsthand. I will say that the district overall has done a very good job of forward thinking and doing, trying to head off some of the issues before they happen. A good example of that was with our bus driving situation, where obviously we still need some more bus drivers, but that's also a nationwide thing. However, the district was looking at utilizing routes in staggering start times several years before it became an issue with the rest of the country. So while there's room for improvement there, the district has historically done a good job of forward thinking. They have done a good job with our enterprise zone in terms of taxation and things like that. It's exceedingly impressive. That being said, there is room for improvement. Auditing the books, having a look, there are some places where there can be fat that's trimmed, and my time is up. So thank you very much.
Sherry, would you like me to repeat the question, or do you have it?
No, sir, I have it. There's a $5 billion surplus in Austin that we're not going to get, so what can we do to manage teacher retention with that reality? So I attended our budget workshop last week, and Kimberly Smith has already alluded to the fact that we're probably going to have a deficit budget again. And in that room, it was unequivocally understood that teacher retention was still going to remain a priority, and she even proposed ideas on how we can handle the budget. And for me personally, I think a good idea would be somewhat what Mr. Maddox mentioned. Let's bring our community partners in, see where we can help our ISD, and have that trickle to our teachers. Another thing would be get into the weeds of what our teachers are being mandated to do, what they're being generally asked to do by the state, by local. Get into the weeds on a campus level and figure out what we can take off their shoulders that doesn't have a consequence to the classroom, the curriculum, but does lend itself to the budget. And if it doesn't remove a budget item, at least it takes it off the shoulders of their responsibilities. Thank you.
All right, back to City Council, and we'll kind of change up the order. So, Angelia, you'll go first. The question is, there has been discussions on unionizing our police, fire department, etc. Where do you stand on this issue?
Well, I want to clarify that the question on unionization really is among the Fire Association. Our police department is not engaging in that discussion currently. You should know, as an elected official, it's a fine line that I walk when it comes to being able to answer this question. So what I'm going to do is answer it factually and give you my experiences. I'm a human resources executive, and I have been for over 30 years. What I have seen unions do in organizations is destroy the culture. This is what I've seen. When you have a third party that comes in and attempts to bargain on behalf of the employees, they split the organization in half. So my experience has been culturally, you change the entire chemical makeup when you have a third party coming in to represent an organization, whether it be fire or otherwise. But I also want to share with you the facts. Because as an HR executive, when I see organizations attempting to unionize, I want to see what are the problems. So if you look at compensation, because generally that's a top one when you think about people that want a third party, we are in the top 20% when it comes to compensation. There are only 3 other cities that pay, out of 15 cities in our local area that pay the rate that we pay or higher. Turnover, less than 3%. Average tenure for fire association or fire members, 11 years. So average salary, $98,000. So compensation, turnover, average tenure, that tells me that we don't have an issue. We have an issue when it comes to people wanting power.
So my answer to this question is going to be completely different because I don't have the benefit of being an elected official who has inside information. I can tell you as a citizen, as someone who would normally be sitting where you're sitting, all I can do is rely on the management and the leadership of our police and fire. When your fire department comes to you and asks for this kind of I'm a capitalist through and through, right? So unionization is not something I'm going to jump up and down and be super excited about. But I will tell you that if public service and supporting our first responders is job one, then you should absolutely support your first responders as job one. So I don't know that that's an answer. I apologize. But I guess what I'm saying is if they're asking, there's a reason why they're asking. And I'm not going to hide behind, because I don't have the ability, I'm not going to hide behind quasi-facts and, I don't know, wordsmithing.
Well, I served 13 years in the military. I know Angela comes from the corporate America side, but I can tell you, and I think everyone would agree, that unionizing your military would be an incredibly bad idea. So on the micro scale, why would you unionize police and fire? These are the men and women who wear our city's uniform and go into harm's way every day. And unionizing that, I can't even get the words out. My God, it just seems awful. I mean, the notion is that if you're not sure, John, if you're really that uninformed and you've got to reach out to somebody, call your fire chief. Call your fire chief. Call your police chief. The best firefighter in this city is your fire chief. The best firefighter, the best police officer in this city is your police chief, Shilson and Glover. The reason we have all these problems is because the prior fire chief didn't do his job properly. And the unions saw that, and they thought, the door is open. We can run into Frisco from outside of Texas, from outside of Frisco. So this wasn't an internal ask. This came from the outside because of the perceived weakness in our fire department left behind by our former fire chief. Thankfully, we have our new fire chief, Chief Glover,
John, time's up.
is amazing. So thank you.
Well, I guess as someone that's actually only worked in the fire department, and I actually worked in a department that had 3 contracts in Florida, and I've negotiated all 3, I can speak to this a little bit. First of all, you don't ask the chief of the department. Number one, they can't even comment on this, number one. So that information is erroneous. They're not allowed to even speak to this. And number 2, you don't ask management about these issues. The bottom line is the city put them there. If you want to know the truth, the city of Frisco put them there. They asked for meet and confer, which is a much lesser attempt than civil service or collective bargaining, not unionization. The city said no. They asked him, said, can we, and I as fire chief asked for a 3-person or 4-person or 7-person panel. I'm Virginia Beach. We were right to work state there. They want due process. There is no due process in this city for disciplinary actions that are issued by the city manager. If he issues the discipline, your appeal will go straight to him. Folks, that's not American. And that's what they're fighting for. And to Angelia's point, yeah, this is about power. It's about the city's power. They don't want to give up any power because this is a monarchy. This isn't a collective. This is a monarchy, and they want 1 ounce they give up. So the bottom line is, if the city had have agreed to meet and confer, and they would also had agreed to some type of administrative panel, we would not be here today. The city put them there. They have no choice but to go with this. Make no mistake about that.
Excellent. Let's head back to the school board. And we're going to change up the order a little bit so it doesn't get boring. So Fred looked at me first, so he's going to go. The question I have is, bullying has been around probably since the beginning of formal education, but the landscape has completely changed. You have cyberbullying, you have hacks happening. Before kids could run home and be safe, they really don't have a safe space anymore with social media. It's everywhere. As a school district, as a community, how do we address this new era of bullying that's happening?
That's a fun one. That's a fun one, and you're right, bullying has been around. It doesn't mean that's acceptable, and it just flat out isn't. Obviously, with cyberbullying, thank you very much. Obviously, with cyberbullying, it's still bullying. The medium has changed, but the message is still there. The district needs to address it in every way, shape, and form. Educate the teachers, educate the staff on the new forms of bullying. I'm an old man, but I'm still a teacher. I had to learn these types of things. Social media is not my thing. Have fun looking me up on the internet. You see that, okay? But yet, educate the staff. Educate the parents on what's going on things that they need to be looking out for. And then reach out to those students when those types of things happen. Don't wait for a suicide. Don't wait for something terrible to happen. Get out there and get in front of it. Our school district does a pretty good job on that one in terms of like anti-bullying campaigns and trying to educate, but the problem's not going to go away. We still need to step up and address it, though.
Thank you, Sherry.
Oh, I don't know.
Sherry, repeat mine? Yes.
Okay. Good evening. Okay, so this is a big one, and I can speak to it personally because one of the reasons I actually got into the ISD on a granular level was in 2017 as a result of my family having an issue with my district with the bullying issue. And then last year, discipline has been a topic in the district, and last year the district recognized this, and they've actually implemented some change. One of those would be less screen time inside the classroom. It may not be as much as some of us would like. We'd probably like a little more, but they're working on it. I would say what Fred said also, partner with the parents, bring the parents in closer, educate them. Bring the parents to the bully end as well as love on the baby that's being bullied, and educate them on how they can work through the problem instead of just disciplining the problem, so you can come out and be a better student on the other side. And another thing, hold the students accountable. Let's get that out there and show the kids that you're responsible for your actions, and then let's have some consequences, some responsible consequences, because they're young people. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Melanie, you want to go ahead? Do you want me to repeat the question? Do you have it? Perfect.
Okay, so several years ago, the Stop It app was implemented by a former board member, which helped significantly for students to have a way to anonymously report when there is a situation going on or bullying. Unfortunately, I can speak to the fact that as a mom of a special education student, that our special education community is the community that seems to be the most at risk when it comes to these sorts of activities. And it's not just the cyberbullying, it's physical bullying. Now, I don't know if you saw the video a year ago where a young man from Lone Star High School was lured into the bathroom and then slapped across the face. That was hard to watch for everybody. And while I do commend Frisco ISD for a lot of things, one of the things that we're not doing, which I spoke to earlier, is we are not wrapping our arms around our behavior policies. I agree with Ms. Salas that we need to hold people accountable. Always collaborating with parents is a good idea. Nobody knows that better than a special education parent, because that's our life. If we don't collaborate, we get nowhere. But at the end of the day, if we're not holding kids responsible for their behavior, because words matter. Words matter, and I mean that globally for everything, not just bullying. Listen to the words that people are telling you. It's easy to say one thing. It's a lot different to speak action into those things and actually put forth some plans and changes that are going to work.
Well, let me say first and foremost, I support fully a safe environment for not only our students, but our educators as well. And I was bullied growing up, and it's not an easy concept or an environment to be in. But I think one of the things that would resolve this issue is, again, I go back to how are we communicating that this is not right? How are we communicating that this is not the right thing to do? How are we communicating that would you like to be treated like this? I think, again, kids, some know, some don't know. They might think it's funny, they might think it's a joke. We have to make it clear it's not funny, it's not a joke. Nobody wants to be bullied, nobody wants to be mistreated. And we just have to drive that point home. But again, I just come back to simple. I know it seems hard, but communication goes a long way. I've been blessed in my experience to have worked with people from every walk of life. And somewhere along that line, you meet people and you say, I know I'm not gonna like him, no, I'm not gonna like her. And you find out that's the best person in the world. You find a common thread to work with that person. You find a common thread to what you have in common. So I find it very hard to believe you won't find people bullying each other if they find out they have something in common. So again, I go back to the communication issue. We got to learn to communicate and talk to each other and make sure that our kids are safe, as well as our educators.
All right, back to City Council. Mark, we'll start with you. Taxes have decreased recently, but still are viewed by many residents as being too high. What ideas do you have to maintain or lower our property taxes?
Well, there was a tax reduction given in the last budget. I think what people are in conflict with is their valuations on their homes. I mean, they're seeing really high valuations, which is a good thing. I mean, everybody likes their homes to go up, but with that, your taxes go up. So you hear that, well, the taxes are down, but my money is still not down. So I think that's a little bit of a quandary for a lot of folks is when they hear tax reduction, but they're still paying more taxes. what you also see is fees. So the taxes may go down, but your water fees went up, your sewer fees went up. So sometimes it's just a displacement of lower taxes, but your fees go up. So you're really not gaining anything, you're losing. I think just continued education to the public, it's tough. There's open budget sessions that come in and ask questions. Oftentimes, many people, hardly anyone ever shows up and comes and takes a look. But I think you should go in there and ask questions to council and ask these tough questions about your fees and what you're paying. The homestead exemption went up from 12.5% to 15%. That's good. I know the council's got a target of 20%. I think that will certainly, that's the cap. I think that will certainly help and give some people some release. And also think that the frozen on 65 years old on your taxes is also a good thing. And I think that's is something to be applauded.
The monarchy got something right, I guess. So thank you for that. Yeah, our goal is 20% on the homestead exemption. The seniors and disabled get an $80,000 automatic exemption, and then they're also included in the homestead exemption. And then, of course, disabled and over 65 also have a tax freeze. So dare I say, Mayor Cheney has been a champion of the hardworking Frisco taxpayer, and so has his fellow council members. So if that's not anything to get united about, I'm not sure what is. Your money it's yours, belongs in your pocket. I will say that half of our budget does go to public safety. We take public safety very seriously. It's obviously an issue here tonight. We've got Fire Station 10 opening soon. We'll hire about 20 firefighters for that. Fire Station 11 is in the plans. Fire Station 12 will be next. Obviously, we'll get about 14 fire stations when we're built out, fully equipped, staffed, manned. That is going to take some budget math work to, again, keep that tax rate effective and competitive in this area, to continue to deliver the high standards, high quality of living that you desire while maintaining a competitive tax rate. You just don't want your city to look like you have a competitive tax rate. Thank you.
I'm a pretty simple person. If my tax rate is lower, but the check I write is bigger, that doesn't help me. For the fastest growing city in America, you're adding new people to the tax rolls, so why are you in my pocket? I'm just gonna leave it at that. I think it's math.
Before I answer the tax question, I just want to go back to Mr. Redmond. Y'all know me. Mr. Redmond, the fire information that I quoted wasn't erroneous information. It was very specific, and it's public information. So I would encourage you to meet with the department heads, do your homework, sir. You will be able to validate every number that I give you tonight. As far as the taxes, I think we've already told the story of taxes. We have a really good story of taxes. We have lowered our taxes 5 times in the past 10 years. Our tax rate was 0.4466. It's now 0.4322. So we're continuing to lower taxes. Not only are we doing that, we're increasing homestead exemption, as you've heard. Since I've been on council, we've gone from 10% to 12.5% to 15%. We also have a seniors tax freeze at 65 and above. We also have a seniors exemption at $80,000. So the story on taxes in Frisco is actually a really good story. And I know it doesn't feel good. I don't want to write that check either. But the offset of that is we have public safety. As you heard Councilman Keating say, half of our budget goes to public safety. So it is math. It is half of our revenue comes from property tax and half of our expenses go to public safety. So it is a math equation. You can't have it both ways, and we're trying our best to manage our taxes as best we can and still give people the overall quality of life that we've all come to grow to love and deserve.
All right, we'll do one more set of city council and then we'll move, because you took 2. You took 2 in a row. Okay, we'll start with Angelia. You can stand right back up if you'd like. So, international and national politics have had an increasing influence into local elections, such as the Frisco City Council election. How do you address issues outside of your authority, but are top of mind and concern for many Frisco residents?
You know, that's a tough one because we've had some local issues that have surfaced in our recent council meetings, and we as a local government body believe in local control. And the reality is there are things that are within our scope that we focus on, and they're the things that make Frisco Frisco, but there are things that are outside of our scope. And so we have to know what our lane is and stay in our lane. And while we may empathize personally, we have to make sure that we stay in our lane as elected officials. And so it is very tough when state and national issues come to us and people want us to address it. But the reality is we are locally elected officials, and we have to remain in that mindset and not get out of that mindset. And so for us, we may empathize, but there are things that, there are just lines that we cannot cross.
That was fantastic. I agree with everything she said. Literally everything she said. Empathy is important. But as I said in my open, municipal elections and municipal governance affects you, your family, your friends in the communities where we live, work, and play. And as someone who's hoping to serve the Frisco community, while I have empathy for those that are clinging to international, national, even state level issues, it's my job to understand that. But as a local official, that's not our place to make those decisions because we really don't have any influence. Thank you.
Again, having served 13 years in the U.S. Army and deployed to the Gulf during Operation Desert Shield, Desert Storm, I have seen firsthand the devastation of warfare. Let me shift now to serving you as a Frisco City Councilman. I cannot be more proud of the young people that have come before us and have shared the emotion and in such an articulate fashion of what they are experiencing through their loved ones overseas. I'm truly touched and want those young people, those voices to know that they were seen and they were heard by our council. I think the prayer that comes from so many voices and so many faiths gathered together is the best peace treaty and the best proclamation any of us can make. And when we gather and pray together, that's the strong voice. That's the united voice, and that's the voice that truly changes things. Yeah, we could issue a proclamation as a council. It's, Frisco City Council issues a proclamation, no big deal. I mean, I don't want to belittle it. We take pride in the proclamations we give. They're for our city, they're for our citizens. It's not for something like this, as Angelia said. But moving past the proclamation and focusing just back on our folks, come anytime to your Frisco City Council and speak. And we're there to listen and to empathize and to hear your story. So thank you for sharing it with us.
Well, I agree. There's a lot of national issues that are not the purview of local government. There's no question about that. I think the question really is it infiltrating here? And I think it is in terms of politics, partisan politics. We can say these elections are nonpartisan. That's really not true. They are partisan. As a matter of fact, there was a meet and greet about a week ago that John attended that the top said Republican candidates for election. His base was up there. But he tell you it's nonpartisan. How can that be? Also look to see who endorses people. See how many Republican endorsements that these candidates get. You want to see if they're really Republican? See if they get the endorsements. So you can't have, you talking about can't have it both ways? Yeah, he can't have it both ways. He can't have it both ways to say, yeah, well, it's nonpartisan, and then say, well, I'm part of the Republican slate over here. Come meet and greet with me. So I think that's something that's disingenuous. I think it's wrong. I think that if you're nonpartisan, it is, but these aren't nonpartisan elections. Partisanship is in here, believe me. They just pretend like that it's not. And I think that's something that we really need to clean up a little bit, or just admit to it and say, yeah, these are partisan. I'm Republican, he's Democrat, he's independent, or whatever. But right now, it's being cloaked behind the curtain. But I think the curtain's been unveiled.
Okay, Okay, we'll go back to school board. However, there will be a 3x5 note card that'll be passed out in case you do have questions. So we'll have a Q&A session, and you can raise your hand to get those.
Sounds good. So, gonna pivot towards the future a little bit. And something that I'm seeing in the corporate America right now is the concept of generative AI. And I was hesitant to ask this question, but generative AI could have asked these questions for me. So maybe I'll just do it that way and see what happens. But the reality is, generative AI is changing the game. Students are using it potentially to answer papers, to do homework. Teachers are using it for their job. And there may be a whole generation of careers that are no longer needed with AI in the future. As a school district, how do we need to adjust to this new technology and potential cheating, if it is called cheating, with AI? So with that, I'll turn that over to Melanie, if you want to kick that off.
Sorry, guys, I'm in a boot. Takes me a second. Okay. We can't stop progress, right? We can't stop technology. Technology's great. But with great power comes great responsibility, as we know. And so it's important that if we're going to be implementing tools like AI in the classroom, that we have some controls around that AI. ChatGPT is fun. I've played with it. It's great to ask it a lot of questions. But the idea that it could write a paper for a student is a problem because that doesn't allow that student to use their own critical thinking skills or to develop them. So I think that's a problem. It's also been studied that the human brain, especially for young ones, too much screen time literally atrophies the brain. And our students are constantly on their phones and on their iPads. And in the classroom now in particular, they're on their laptops all the time. That's a problem. They're not getting a break and their brains are not truly getting an opportunity to grow. So while technology is important, and I can tell you full well, I have a friend who works for a company where he had to just lay off 1,500 people in the tech department because they're going to start using AI, and now that robot, that computer has replaced those people. So we also have to encourage our children to take jobs and to learn things in the form of a trade or to go to college to take jobs where a computer is not going to replace you. But I think that we certainly have to be careful when it comes to AI.
Thank you, Keith.
Well, I think that we should embrace the opportunity that we have with AI. But as with anything, it's the ability to have some roll guards or some control over that situation. One of the ways we can do that is ensuring that our educators have the technology and have the understanding and the training that they need in order so that they can relay that same information and have an understanding whether a student is using AI or not. But rather than running away from AI, I think we should embrace it. It wasn't long ago that we figured that when cell phones, when they went to iPhones, that was going to be the great end. How can we have iPhones? But I think as Americans, we continue to progress, we continue to pivot, we continue to utilize and make use of this new technology. We're blessed to have a CET center where our kids go there and they learn new technology. So why not embrace that and figure out a way to embrace AI and make it to our advantage? Now, we can only do that if we prepare ourselves and as you said, get ready for the future. But we can't just pretend and stick our head in the sand like, well, we're just going to ignore it and not utilize it. So again, we got to communicate the opportunities there and make the best use of it.
Mr. Maddox, I don't appreciate you taking my notes and using them for yourself. He brought up a great point. Technology is only moving in one direction. It's the same thing that was said about the internet when that first came in and telephones and all that. It is a tool. ChatGPT, the AI, it is a tool. How that tool is used is exceedingly important. It can be used for good. It can be used for not good. Educating the staff is the first step on that one. Right? The staff has to know what they're talking about, and then once they are comfortable with it, and hopefully that's a pretty quick turnaround, then they can educate our students. That's the entire point. We are here to learn. We could stick our head in the sand and just say it'll go away or it's a bad thing, but the reality is that things are just going to progress. So if we educate the students, we set the parameters, what's acceptable, what is not, we educate them on how to use it properly. It is a tool that can be used for good. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to echo a lot of what they said because it makes sense, right? Like, we can't run from this, it's here. But I also have a fun story. My team, we have socks on that have a cute pun. And I have friends, I text them, I'm like, hey, help me come up with the pun. Well, they're not necessarily pun inclined. And guess who delivered this lovely pun for us? That would be ChatGPT. I'd also like to say that the colleges are paying attention to this. So it's not like the ISD has the ability to just, like Mr. Kaiser said, put our head in the sand. We have to proactively react to it and just kind of go into it. The other thing is this freaked me out, if I'm being honest. And so the first thing I did was reach out to my teacher friends, because I never assume my opinion is the thing. And so I reached out to a couple and I inquired with them, what's this look like in the classroom? Because I do hear my kids tell me about cheating and blah, blah, blah. The teachers are going with it. They see it as a tool that they now need to introduce to their students and frame it in a way that serves them well, successfully in the future. And since our colleges are looking at this, I think that's the responsible approach.
All right. Now, we will start with, I kind of lost track. I think we'll start with Mark, or did we start with you last time?
I think you started with Mark last time.
All right, well, we'll change it up. We'll start with John.
We did.
All right, well, we'll start with John Keating this time. We'll change it. All right. Universal, downtown, Frisco redevelopment, the Fields, PGA, the new legacy, all of the above and more seem to be targeting both local residents and tourists. What efforts would you propose the city invest in that would be targeting solely towards residents? For these, it's kind of a two-part. And for these new developments, how are we getting ahead of traffic?
Okay. Well, that was quite a list. Very impressive. Imagine you're in a city that has all that. Any city around would love to have any one of those projects. Frisco has all of that. We used to be reactive to our traffic issues, and now we're in a place where we're finally able to be proactive. We've got over about $200 million going into roads around Frisco, whether it's traffic signals, turn lanes, widening roads. Legacy just opened up. The question about what is built here for our citizens and what is built here for tourists. 7 million people visited Frisco last year. 7 million people. So yes, there's a little bit of traffic congestion every now and then. Actually, here in Frisco, it flows pretty smoothly. We're trying to keep that going, keep working on that, making that better. A lot of these amenities are here for us to use. The PGA has a discount for Frisco residents. You get some preferred tee times as well. That was something we negotiated into the project. It is a public golf course. It's one of the first ones of its type that's not private, that is hosting these types of events where even if you don't play golf, you can enjoy the amenities and you can also volunteer for it and have a really great time with your friends and serving your community at the same time. So these are not necessarily city projects. These are projects the developers bring to the city. You guys, you read that whole list and it'll be 5 seconds to answer it. So the good news is these amenities are for everybody. And the visitors that come in are helping offset the costs. So those are good things. Thank you.
Can you repeat that question?
Yeah, absolutely. So Universal, downtown Frisco redevelopment, the Fields, PGA, the new legacy, and many more seem to be targeting both local residents and tourists. What efforts would you propose the city invest in that would be targeting solely towards residents? For these new developments, how are we getting ahead of traffic?
Well, you're not going to get ahead of traffic. The bond's got about $240 million in traffic. Traffic engineering will tell you right now, you cannot put enough concrete on the street to take care of traffic that's in this city. And we're not built out yet, folks. There's 18% of this city left to be built. So traffic is not going to get better. There's going to be some connector roads. You're going to see Panther Creek connected into Preston. There's going to be some connections, but if you were at the town hall the other night, you heard very clearly what traffic engineering said, and that is some of these lanes are built out. They're not getting any bigger. They're not putting any more lanes there. So traffic getting better? No, it is not going to get better. I think we need a traffic study. I think we got a great traffic engineering department, but I think it's time for a consulting firm to come in here and take a look at our measures, because everything needs a look-see every now and then to make sure that we are hitting on the cutting edge. I can name several projects right now that the city has engaged consultants on to make us better. I think golf courses are great. I think affordable golf courses are probably better. I can tell you that a public golf course is needed. The PGA is great. I've played one of the courses. I don't know what the cost is right now, but it's relatively expensive to play. I think more affordable things, and I think downtown will be great once it's developed for families to come down there and visit and have a good weekend. I think that's very important for our downtown development.
John can go first.
We're getting confused. I'm getting confused. I'm not going to speak for anyone
I know, I
else.
kind of changed it up.
Yeah. Yeah, now I'm,
Okay.
There was a lot. But I will echo part of what Mark said. You can't pave your way out of traffic. As someone who lives in Northwest Frisco, I can tell you that traffic sucks. But I understand and I appreciate, and obviously the mayor is here with us this evening, I appreciate what our city government is doing. I appreciate the foresight and the attention to infrastructure. I would tell you again, in some of the conversations I've had with friends, family, colleagues, people that live in the city that know I'm running, they all bring it up. But I can tell you largely, the majority of people appreciate the fact that there is some foresight into stuff that's coming. So I won't denigrate anyone and say, I can just tell you that traffic sucks. And it's not going to get better, but it also is kind of what it is. So I will give credit to the traffic engineers, our traffic department, the mayor, and all of the staff that they're thinking about it and they're doing what they can. It's hard.
So you're right, there's a lot of investments happening in our city, a lot of development. And so how do the residents of Frisco benefit from that? First of all, taxes. Because each of these corporations and these developments bring forth property tax and sales tax. And as we talked about earlier, when it comes to ad valorem tax, it's about 47% of our general fund budget. So we benefit when corporations come here because we shift the burden from the residents to the corporations. Right now, corporations are about 26% of the ad valorem taxes. We want to shift that. Our goal as a city is to get to 30%. So when we shift the tax burden from the residents to the corporations, Frisco residents win. Second, jobs. Each of these corporations and these developments bring good jobs. And it may not necessarily be jobs for adults. It may be jobs for our children. For example, at Universal, there will be over 2,000 opportunities for employment. And then third, destination experiences, whether it's the $68 million we're investing in downtown, whether it's Universal, which is going to generate just from sales and property taxes about $30 million over a 10-year period of time. That's $3 million a year. That could go to adding 20 police officers and equipping them with cars. So there's so many benefits. When we grow as a city, the Frisco residents win.
Excellent. So one of the feedbacks we got last time when we did this is there was not enough time to meet the candidates. So we've actually worked that into the middle of the program. So we're going to take about a 15-minute break, reconvene at 8:15, with the goal of you talking to the candidates because they're here and there are people in the back. So we're going to take a 15-minute break. Please meet with the candidates, and please, we'll reconvene at 8:15. I also did want to recognize some of our city leadership that is here as well as made the time. Mayor Jeff Cheney is here, and Councilwoman Tammy is here as well, too. So none of our members have had a chance to meet them, so I thought they might have been off the hook today, but, if you're here with them, I'm sure people would love to speak to you as well. So we'll reconvene at 8:15. Cards are going around. Please submit those as well, and we'll go with audience questions when we reconvene at 8:15. Anything else, Heather?
No, it's just, we're going to have prayer time at 8 o'clock, so, and then right after prayer, we'll.
And real quick, we still do have dinner boxes if you haven't grabbed food, right here outside on the left. So if you'd like a sandwich, please go out there while we have them. Excellent. So I think we're ready to reconvene. I want to thank everyone that submitted their questions ahead of time or now. So do we have everyone?
I think we do.
We're waiting on there she's coming.
I'm coming. I've lost the one shoe that I brought. It's disappeared, but we'll find it. I have confidence.
So as we begin, I do need to make a disclaimer that these are audience questions. They have been submitted by individuals in person or electronically and do not necessarily represent the viewpoint or sentiment of the Islamic Center of Frisco. So don't blame us. But on a serious note, why don't we get started with the FISD candidates? And this question actually kind of hit me close because it was submitted by a student. And Keith, why don't we start it? The conflict in the Middle East has obviously impacted a lot of people around the world, including here in Frisco. As a student, I'm concerned about the increase in Islamophobia at our schools. What measures do you plan to implement to combat Islamophobia and other areas of concern and discrimination in the school district?
Well, I definitely can understand kids feeling discriminated against. I actually come from Birmingham, Alabama, and my background, my family had to go through the civil rights issue, so I can totally relate to that. So I go back to my point that I made earlier about ensuring that every kid, every educator feel as though they're in the safest environment that we can possibly present to them. So I will always do everything I can. I want any kid to come to school, any student I should say, come to school to feel out of fear or have any kind of reservation. They're there to learn. They're there to be the best productive citizen they can and do whatever they can to make our country great. And they can't do that if they have a concern or they're worried about something happening to them or somebody doing something to them or saying something crazy. So I will always support the safety and well-being of all our kids and educators, so whatever that takes.
Thank you, Melly. Do I need to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
With the conflict in the Middle East impacting so many people both globally and locally, there's been an increase in Islamophobia in our FISD that students have recognized. What measures do you plan to implement to combat the increase in Islamophobia and other discrimination occurring in our schools?
Excellent question. Okay. So discrimination, unfortunately, is not new, and it's not lost on me that I'm a Christian woman in a mosque. I was wonderfully invited to your iftar last year, and I came, and I learned, and I felt very welcomed, and it was amazing. I saw my friend there, too. I have zero tolerance for intolerance. Zero. I happen to be racially mixed, ethnically mixed, and I have Jewish blood in me, too. I am a literal walking melting pot. I have been discriminated against. I've been held back. I know what that feels like. And you can't shake it. Once you've been discriminated against, you know the minute you walk in the room when people are looking at you differently, and you know the reason why, and it's awful. And you wear it, unfortunately. But I'm here to tell you that we are a community. We are a community that has to stick together. And the best way to combat those things is to communicate. But on the school level, we have to make sure that there are action behind our words. I would have to be a fool to stand up here and tell you I support safety in the classroom. I'm running for school board. I'm not going to get up here and say it's all about chaos and the inmates running the asylum. That's a given. The issue is, what are we going to do and implement things? And I assure you that I am that person that will be on the board that will make sure that we are adhering to our disciplinary policies and that we have a zero tolerance for intolerance. There were people, wait a minute, I have a point to make. There were people that told me not to come tonight because of a video that circulated from October 7th. People were hurt. People were insulted. I get it. There were some harsh words that came from the imam or who the guest priest was, and I understand. We're not going to solve global issues today. We're not going to solve them tomorrow, but we as a community can come together. My very presence here tells everybody in this room and everybody at home watching, whether they do it live or they look at the playback, that me being here, no one tells me to compromise on my principles. I am here because of communication. I am here because I feel you and I get it. And I am here because I will be the one who will make sure that every student in Frisco ISD, whether they're Muslim, Jewish, gay, straight, Christian, black, white, it matters not. We go to school together, we live together, and we will get along with each other.
Thank you, Mom. You want me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
The Middle East conflict has impacted people both globally and locally. Students reported there's been an increase in Islamophobia at schools. What measures do you plan to implement to combat Islamophobia and other discrimination occurring in FISD schools?
Thank you. So the educator in me is going to come out. Maslow's hierarchy of needs, safety is going to have to be the priority, obviously. If the student doesn't feel safe, then the student's not going to learn. That's a simple, straightforward, and easy to understand truth on that one. So if the students aren't feeling safe, it's obviously an issue. Islamophobia, and going back to with the bullying discussion, it's obviously things are terrible. Things need to be addressed. The biggest thing that's going to, I think, would help impact that is educating the staff once again, so that they are familiar with what's going on. I mean, shoot, asking a biology teacher to talk about things going on in the Middle East or geopolitics, things like that, it's outside of their purview. They may not be comfortable. But what they should be comfortable with is knowing that these types of things are going on. And if they start hearing things, it goes back to the see something, say something, right? If they see it, be hyper-cognizant of it. So students need to feel safe on that one. Obviously, working with the district leadership, that's a big part of their job, is coming up with those types of policies and addressing those types of needs. And then giving the students a voice and giving the students, yes, sir, giving the student input. If they are better able to articulate their fears and what needs to be addressed than we as adults are when it comes to some of that. We may have the knowledge, we may have the know-how, but they're the ones who are going to have to voice their concerns, and we need to respect that and listen. Thank you.
Okay, I want to answer the question directly as it is related to Islamophobia, because here's the thing. Right now, it's this one issue, but what nobody talks about is anytime there's something in the news that's happening outside of our country that looks like our Asian students, our students go through this over and over. Every single time we have a major event, it invites itself into our classrooms and a front level to our students. And you know what? We need to talk about it. We need to bring words to it. We need to get the teachers involved. We need to get the students involved. For example, tonight coming here, there's a reason when I introduced myself, I didn't just thank you for hosting this event. I thanked the ICF for providing a space for people to come, because I know it's more comfortable for our Muslim residents to come here and engage with candidates as opposed to maybe the Frisco Chamber of Commerce event that they'll have. I recognize that importance. And the other thing is let's educate on these things. It's like people stay in their lanes. Coming here tonight, you know, I have friends that came for the first time and they were so worried. What do we do with the shoes? Oh my gosh, my socks, and I don't want to step here. Where do I go? Where do I enter? And it's all about educating. You know, put our guards down. Let's come to a table and have a responsible conversation that's needed so we know better. Thank you.
All right, on to city council questions. Okay, please don't shoot the messenger. I'm just going to ask the questions.
Do we need to read the disclaimer again, or you guys remember that what I said at the beginning?
John Keating, you're pretty popular, so I'm going to ask a question that was directed towards you. John, you said you were anti-union, so why do you ask for the endorsements from the fire department every election?
I have not asked for the endorsement of the Fire Association every election. I'm not sure where that comes from. But, you know, when it was an association and fraternal organization, I certainly understand that. Again, I understand the men and women wearing our city's uniform, rushing into harm's way to save others, and the fraternal bonds that are formed around that. And I'm fully supportive of that, and the fundraising they do for scholarships and things, and it was great. And then when it turned political and wanted to go, I don't know, for lack of a better word, for union, then I stepped back from that. I stepped away. Do I still answer their questionnaires? Of course. One of the common complaints is one about communication and, you know, meet and confer. And so the last thing I want to do is not turn in a questionnaire and answer it, but, you know, put on there that I'm not seeking your endorsement, but I'm more than happy to, you know, communicate and answer your questions and things like that. So my time is up? I think I've answered that one. You want me to say anything? You got another one for me, or are we going to divvy them up here?
No, I do have another one for you.
Imagine my surprise. All right, go ahead.
Okay. So I'm trying to understand the writing. It's a little, okay, so are you concerned about the illegals entering our cities? They are all over Denton County and surrounding counties and causing child trafficking, bringing fentanyl. Frisco is not the safest city that you claim it is.
Well, I would say that we are a safe city that understands that these are challenges that our police department and our fire department meets and our community leaders meet as well. I mean, part of the question here for the FISD, I would say that part of the magic of Frisco is our partnerships. And one of our most important partnerships is with our school district and our SRO program that we have to help keep our students safe. And the leadership examples that all of us as adults set for our children. And that's part of what helps make this a safe city. This may come as a shock. Earlier I was accused of being a Republican. I think everybody knows I'm a Republican. I'm for border security. I would love to stop the fentanyl. I would love to stop the human trafficking. I believe the Second Amendment is for everyone. I own a firearm. I'm trained and proficient in handling a firearm. If you would ever like to shoot a firearm and would like to go with me, I would be more than happy to introduce you to the world of firearms right here safely in Frisco. This is a wonderful city, and it is a safe city. It's been the #1 safest city in America for 2 years in a row. I will stand by that and defend that, and I will defend our police and firefighters as well, and for the record that they have in keeping us all safe, adults, women, and children. Thank you.
You can sit down.
Going for the Triple Crown here.
Well, Seth, you kind of laid it out on the plate for me, so I'm going to take the ball here because you had a follow-up question related to that for the school district. And that's digging deeper. And Keith, you just answered the question, so I'll let you sit down. I feel bad. You good? Okay. So the question is on fentanyl. There has the fact that that question came up there. We hear it from another, resident. It's increasing in school district. Kids are getting access to it. It is becoming a bigger and bigger problem. And as much as we want to say that we have the safest city, we still have drugs like this entering into our school district. What can we do about it?
Well, one thing I'd like to say for sure is that I do not at all believe that the inmates are running the asylum, because first of all, our school district is not an asylum, and neither are our students inmates. So as far as it relates to fentanyl, again, we have to recognize and do what we can to ensure, I go back to being safe. Do whatever it takes to make sure that our kids, our students, our educators, our CORs, everyone that's involved in our school system and also our city are safe. So that might require a little bit more testing. That might require a little bit more patrol. It might require a couple other things that we're not doing. But I agree, there are things that we cannot sit back on our laurels and just pretend that we live in Frisco, we live in a bubble, we will never be affected by this. That is the wrong approach to take. So I will always be open to whatever it is that we need to do to figure out that's going to ensure that we minimize any exposure that we have. I will not stand here and say that I know we will have zero exposure, because that would be naive. But whatever we can do to ensure that we continue to make Frisco a safe city. People are moving to Frisco because it's a safe city. People are moving to Frisco because of great school systems. Glad to have you. Thank you.
Melanie, do you want me to repeat the question? The question's on fentanyl and the growing occurrence happening in school districts, and what can we do about it?
It's one thing to maybe get a little upset about hyperbole, but it's another to say nothing with your words, because I'm not hearing a plan coming out of my opponent. I have met with Sheriff Skinner. I have met with Sheriff Murphy. I know exactly what's happening with our border. I know exactly what's coming to Frisco. I know what's happening in the city of Plano right now with all of the migrants that are not here legally, that are taking over from Venezuelan gangs, and they have no way to control the behaviors that are going on in their high schools right now. I have met with the father of a teacher who used to be in Frisco ISD who left to Plano and wants to come back because of the level of things that she's seeing. Right now, the danger in fentanyl isn't just fentanyl, it's a new drug called ISO. ISO is 50 times stronger than fentanyl and is Narcan resistant. Let me repeat that. Does not work with Narcan. If you take this drug, you're going to die and there's no bringing you back. Kids for the ages have always wanted to try new things. Kids for the ages have always been trying to live on the edge, whether it's a little bit of alcohol or a little bit of weed or a little bit of whatever. But at the end of the day, as the adults, we are responsible to put strong disciplinary practices in place and to make sure that those children are not having access to those drugs. No dealers in our classrooms, no dealers in our schools. And if you get caught with drugs, the consequences have to be significant enough to deter you from trying to do it again.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to echo some of that. Here's the thing. Last week, either the city or the district had a great event that was actually targeting, educating our public on fentanyl. And I know I was sharing it on social media. I know I was telling everybody that it was going on because we do need to start getting educated on these things. However, fentanyl's in everything. Some people think, marijuana is marijuana. Well, it can be laced with fentanyl and other things. So what we also need to do is we need to get ahead of the gateway drugs. We need to start having conversations around alcohol and marijuana and vaping and all of these things. Start having a higher level of conversation with those as it relates to fentanyl and the consequences that can come from that. Because what's happening is it's a one and done situation. Fentanyl it shows up and it can be bad, and then we've lost a life. And that's what I would suggest. Is the plan is to, and as Melanie said, if you get caught with drugs in our school, there's a consequence to that, and it needs to be a very hard consequence because kids are dying.
Okay.
We got one more, Seth.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I'm used to her being on the end.
I'm a rule follower, so if you start talking, I'll sit down. A great question and exceedingly scary. As I've got an 8th grader, I've got a sophomore. That's the number one thing that keeps me up as a parent. I'm scared. Goes back to education, like Sherry said. Big thing is educating parents. What are the parents looking for? I didn't know that stuff. I'm in education. I've learned a whole lot about it, but now that I am educated on it, it scares me even more. And I'm able to sit down with my children. Enlisting to parents, that's the district's best resource on that. Okay? Enlisting to parents, educating the parents. I appreciate the emails that come out from our schools. I appreciate the opportunities that they give us to learn more about it. But enlisting parent help, that's our frontline defense there. And echoing here, when something shows up in school, when a student is caught with drugs, exceedingly severe discipline. It can be murder, and it needs to be treated. It needs to be treated with that level of gravity when it comes to discipline. Thank you.
All right. Okay, I have a really, really easy question for you, John. And Angelia. It's for both. Yeah. No, it's super easy. Someone just wants to know how many years you've served, Angelia? How many years you've
Here in Frisco on council?
Yes.
This is my first term, so I'll be coming up on 3 years.
Okay. And John, same question for you.
I'm not an elected official, so.
No, John Keating.
Oh.
Sorry, John. There's only one John here. Really. Well played, sir. So I served 2 terms in place 4 from 2010 to 2016, and then was reelected in 2017 for 1 year and expired term. Had to run again in 2018 for a full term, and then was reelected in 2021. So that's 6 plus 1 is 7 plus going on 6 more is 13. My favorite line, experience matters. So this will be my 3rd and final term. So I will be, I think, the longest serving council member. It is obviously broken up. We do have term limits, 3 3-year terms. But I got a kind of a bizarre kind of little break in there. So really this is technically 2nd term, running for the 3rd and final. So thanks. Hope to have your support. Total about 16. Yep. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Amir, I'm going to kind of ask you a question. We're at 8:39, and we want them all to give final closing comments.
Yeah, I
So-
think we're there, so
All right.
why don't we?
Why don't we start with Mark?
Yeah, we'll start with Mark. And you have 1 minute to kind of tell, why do you want to serve?
Well, thank you. First of all, thank you so much for hosting tonight. It's certainly an honor to be here. I don't know who's handing out the Pinocchios here in the center, but you can lay a bushel basket right here in front of John. What he just said is the example of 16 years of being a politician. He said he fills out forms. They send me forms. I just fill them out. That form is very specific. You fill that form out to get the endorsement of the Fire Association. So let's make no mistake about that. What you heard from him is, I just fill out forms because people send it to me. Yeah, that's what 16 years as a politician does, folks. There's no truth in that. It was misleading and it wasn't true. We have an opportunity on April 22nd to where he can't limit your time anymore when you go to public speaking like he did for the people in Frisco Springs when he voted to stop their 5-minute talk to 3. And he voted to do that. 10 people signed up to vote, never been in front of council probably before. That was their right as a citizen. He voted to cut their time because they're number one. Remember, they're number one on the top of the org chart. They come down 95 minutes late to a meeting in January because the citizens are number one. They cut their time because the citizens are number one. The citizens aren't number one here with John Keating. They're not. Folks, vote on April 22nd to 30th on May 4th. They will not be able to silence your vote. They will not be able to cut your time when that comes. You need to vote, and you need to vote them out. That is the only way that they are going to listen to the voice of the people, is you must vote them out. And when you do that, believe me, they will start to listen. Thank you very much. It's a pleasure and honor to be here tonight. Thanks.
You were fired as a former fire chief. 2 independent investigations, not done by City Council, not done by the fire chief or the fire department. 2 independent investigations done. Said this man cannot be trusted. This man does nothing but lie, blame others, as you've seen him demonstrate here tonight. It is absurd. And you know what? I'm going to move past that. And I'm sorry, my record speaks for itself. 13 years as a U.S. Army veteran, combat veteran, decorated. I served my HOA, I served my PTA. I've got the Texas PTA Lifetime Member Award for 7 years on the PTA. 16 years on your Frisco City Council? Politicians don't last. Leaders do. Men and women of their word last. People who lie, cheat, steal, and blame others don't last. Absolutely make sure you spell my name right. John Keating for Frisco City Council. And when you go to the polls, I will be there to greet you. And when you come to City Council, I will be there to greet you. And when I come on, knock on your door, I hope you open your door and we can have a conversation about anything you want. April 22nd is the start of early voting. Election day is on May 4th. My website is keatingforfrisco.com. We got a table right back there, signs. I'm up for re-election. I would love to have your vote. Thank you very much.
Yeah, please. John, go ahead.
Well, that was fun. Thank you so much for allowing us to come here this evening and participate in this forum. Getting to know us a little bit better, getting to know me a little bit better. I know when I ran the first time, there is a little bit of a beauty contest and there is a little bit of name recognition that goes with it. But I'm asking for your vote because I'd like to bring principled, common sense, conservative leadership to City Hall. I want to be your voice. I want you to feel heard. I want to make sure that your opinions matter, your voice matters, that you feel heard, and that it is truly a representative government for everyone. My name is John Redmond. My website is redmondforfrisco.com. I'm asking for your vote. Thank you very much.
You know me. I have been at over 300 events in my first term. It doesn't matter your race your ethnicity, what your interests are, what matters to you has and continues to matter to me. So when someone says they want to hear your voice, they have to be around you. And I can say that in the 300 events that I've attended, I've not seen my opponent. So I want to end with how I started. I love this city. I really do. And I love the people. You're more than just residents to me. You're friends. And I want the city to continue to grow and to continue to prosper and continue to be that light on the hill that I am convinced that we will be. But we will not do this separate. We will not do this out of anger. We will not do this out of partisanship. We will be the Frisco that we all desire to be because we are together. And a friend of mine who's in the audience bought me this cup tonight because he said this cup reminded him of how I have been in my first term. And if you look at this cup, it's got red, black, blue, brown, because I am here for all of you. Partisanship does not matter to me. Ethnicity does not matter to me. What matters to me is that you are a resident in Frisco, and I want one Frisco. Thank you.
So I've been showing up for Frisco ISD regularly since 2017. I've served on numerous committees and did not serve on those committees so I could go around bragging I'm in this committee. I really was that person raising my hand irritatingly, asking all the questions so I could be more knowledgeable, so I could help advocate for my community. I've been to more than 100 school board meetings, and I'm passionate about advocating for parents and helping them advocate for themselves successfully with the district. My why am I running? First, my priority is to keep teacher retention at the forefront of the conversation, but on a higher level of the trickle-down effect of all the other things around us which have an impact on that. Let's make a plan to hire to retire. Second, communication. The district has struggled in this area in the past. I know they've made it a priority in the last year, but that can continue some growth and some help. And then also something that I'm passionate about is our arts and academic students. I want to showcase them. I don't think there's a big enough spotlight on them today. I think that spotlight needs to be bigger, and I think the students that represent that group is larger than a lot of Frisco residents know. Thank you.
It's okay. I have a servant heart. I served as an FISD employee for 14 years. I believe in our school district. I have blood, sweat, and tears in the school district. I still have 2 students in the school district. They could come with me to where I'm currently at, but we moved here for a reason. I believe in education. I live it. I believe in educating all of our shareholders. I believe in honest and forthright communication and improving. Our district is fantastic, but it can be better. As an employee for 14 years, I live the inside of it. I know what the teachers are going through. I agree. Our faculty retention needs to be improved on. I can help with that one. I know firsthand. The bottom line is, though, educating our children, creating a safe environment for our children, preparing them for college and career readiness, that is our ultimate goal. But the first line of defense on that is parents, but in the classroom, it's the teachers. If we are not doing a good job of teacher retention, that needs to be addressed because we're doing a disservice to our students. Thank you.
I moved here from California in 2015. And the school district that we came from left a lot to be desired, to say the least. It was literally an abusive environment for our special education students. And as you know, I have a daughter that's a regular developing kiddo as well. But anybody that knows me knows that I love this district with all my heart and my soul. It saved our lives. My son would not be where he is today without the amazing support systems for between special education and general education, librarians, paraprofessionals. I have been advocating for all of those people behind the scenes since I got here. I have done things for this district that nobody in this room knows about. I don't need to put that out there. But my why for running is because over the last few years, I've noticed that the district I came to in 2015, it's not the same now. I'm not the person that will sit back and do nothing. I am the person that swore I'd never be in the position I was in again when I was in California. I'm not saying that we're there. Frisco's fantastic. I want us to stay that way. But in order to do that, we have to speak truth to power. We have to be honest about where we are. We have to have real conversations, and we have to have people that are willing to step up and say, hey, wait a minute, have you thought about this? That's what I do in every committee that I'm involved in. That's what I do every time I go have private meetings with upper management like Dr. Wes Cunningham, who graciously will give me an hour on his calendar to have conversations about these very things, including curriculum. Our curriculum is sliding backwards.
Anytime.
I'm sorry to tell you guys that we have work to do, and I'm here for it. I'm here for it. We are that beacon on the hill. I want to keep us there, but we need to get to those next levels, and we're not going to do it with yes people. I'm not a bureaucrat. I'm a mom. I'm a mom just like most of the
Thank
ladies
you,
in
Melanie.
here,
We
and
appreciate
that's
it.
what I want for everybody in Frisco. I'm here for all the students. Thank you.
Well, thanks to ICF for having us here. So with me, you're going to get 36 years of management leadership experience. We're going to focus on three things. We're going to focus on ensuring that we have the funding. We're going to ensure that we maintain our student opportunity models, and we're also going to ensure that we maintain a safe school district. But one other thing I want you to know, that I have passion. I mentioned to you before that I was in the Navy, but what I didn't tell you is that part of my job in the Navy was being on a lifeboat. And you hadn't seen passion until you had the opportunity, unfortunately, to pull Marines out of the water who unfortunately were killed. So when you look in their eyes and you see the passion that's gone, or you look in the eyes of those that survived and the passion, they're looking for you for help because you are the only thing that's saving them from death, that's passion. But you have to be able to control that passion. You got to be able to be the adult in the room. You got to be able to be that calming spirit. It's great to have passion, but it needs to be under control. And you have to have a plan. And there's a time and a place for a plan to present anything. So you will always get that with me. You will always get straight honesty. You will always get the best interest, and you will always get value added. I thank you for having me here, and I ask for your vote. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. I think I was better in the timing. I think so. No, thank you so much for everyone coming out. I know it was a little later. It's just because of our prayer time, we kind of had to have a little break, but that gave you all an opportunity to meet the candidates. So it's officially campaign season.
Yeah. Once again, I want to thank the candidates for making the time to come here today. We appreciate your voice and being heard by the community. Thank all the attendees that came as well. It's a Monday night. People have school, they have lives, so coming out definitely means a lot. I did want to recognize the ICF again for hosting us. We do have a couple board members here, our president, Azfar Saeed, and our treasurer, Farouk Mother, here as well from the ICF board to host this event. And I always close these out with a saying in leadership that I love. It's a leader knows the way, shows the way, and goes the way. So once you all go the way to the back and go see their tables before you head out. And as we started, we'll end it with a short prayer as well. So if you bow your heads real quick. In the name of God, the Almighty, the All-Knowing, please grant these candidates the blessing of strength and patience in this campaign season. Please grant their families the patience and strength to deal with these campaign seasons. Please grant them the ability to serve the community as they wish to, whether in this role or in the future. Please bless the city of Frisco, its surrounding areas, with peace and prosperity, so we all come together at the end of this as one collective group and community together. Amen. Thank you all for coming.